From the shadows, I bring you a question. Very simple question. You pop into a BG, much like this one, Eye of the Storm, and on the other team you see 5 Hunters. Well, let's just pretend that we see 5 Shadow Priests on the other team. The question is, are you scared? Or are you thinking automatic win? Let me know in the comments. Very curious what you say. And let me know what your perspective is. Do you play a Shadow Priest or do you not play a Shadow Priest? If you're 1v1 with a Shadow Priest, does that concern you? Leave it in the comments. So we're in Eye of the Storm. I'm always in Eye of the Storm on my Shadow Priest. I don't know why that happens, but that's just a reality. That's just how the hands play out. Got some procs on this Demon Hunter who's going to be coming in for a crash landing. Where's the runway? Dead. Thanks for playing. Now we got a BM Hunter. And he hasn't gotten a memo that he has to have his pets attack, and then he goes over to the other side of the Battleground, which is what he's doing now, but it's a little too late. He's got dots on him, and he's dead. Thanks for playing. Now we got to deal with this mage, and I basically dispel his shield, and he hits me, shadow locks me, and now he's going to get a successful poly off because I have nothing to stop him. And now, people, I'm a monkey. And I'm going to be in the next Planet of the Apes movie, so certainly take a look at that. You'll see me there. So, basically, I didn't need to use the trinket because I wasn't under any kind of pressure, so I just ate the poly. And we got all kinds of action over here at Mage Tower. Charged Warrior rooted and stunned and slowed and everything in the game because it's a warrior. Got my Psy Fiend on him, and he's got Mind Flays. He's parrying stuff. He's dead. Thanks for playing. Thanks for rolling an LP Warrior. Did I say that out loud? Oh, no. I love Warriors. I really do. I think they're great. No, it's a blood DK. It's like, look at how much damage I can take. I can take all your damage. AMS, everybody come after me. Blood Drinker. Well, I think he's just got too much damage. And it's soon to be thanks for playing. 1 health. Dead. Thanks. 2 honor. Hey, I'm a pro. I got 2 honor. So let's see the score. We're up by a very little bit. And the problem is that the Horde are running the flag. Now, you'll see these 2 Demon Hunters and 2 DKs. There's always been a group of 3 of them, whether it's 2 Demon Hunters and 1 DK or 2 DKs and 1 Demon Hunter, but they've been putting a lot of pressure on our team, which keeps the ranged from stopping the flag runs. And even though they probably aren't getting a lot of kills, aren't doing a lot of damage, the reality is they're creating a ruckus and they're creating a distraction, and they're able to run the flag. Now you can see as I try to mind control one off, it was one of the DKs, and I go the wrong way to finish him off. But I want to point something out here, and this is where I say that some things about Shadow Priests have been greatly overlooked. And the first thing you just saw, that is that you get all kinds of Void Tendril procs, which is a good thing, sort of. In PvP, it's not such a good thing, because your main CC now is really mind control. Sure, you could have your Psychic Scream, or you could have Mind Bomb. Either one, they both work in different situations very well. But the thing is, most of the time, your most reliable thing, it's always there, has no cooldown, is mind control. Now, if you're in a situation where you want to walk somebody behind a pillar, walk them off a cliff, and suddenly you get a Void Tendril proc, Houston, you have a problem. Because sooner or later, especially if there's some kind of DR that kicks in, you're not going to be able to execute like you want to. And that's not your fault. There's nothing you can do about it. That's poor PvP design. And that's evident with every single class in the game, because the reality is this game, all the classes are designed based on PvE endeavors. That is the #1 issue with PvP right now. Yes, there are other things that are very relevant and very up there on the list, but unless they change their design habits, where you have and this sounds crazy, but I don't care. This is what needs to happen. 2 separate designs, one for PvE endeavors and one for PvP endeavors, and beef up the talents on both. Everyone wins, everyone's happy. That's the direction they have to go. And of course, a lot of other things will happen, but let's maybe get a new head of the PvP department first. What's been almost 3 months since Holinka sort of disappeared? Have you noticed he's been gone? Nothing's improved. We don't even have somebody being wheeled out to tell us some lies. They don't even have a story. They don't even have a narrative yet. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm being a little bit facetious. No, I'm not. But here's the deal. People, I kind of believe at Gamescom we might get a little bit of a preview on the next X-Pack, because I saw an article out there, and it was a very reliable source. It was Wowhead, where they said Blizzard did something with their PTR, and it's indicating that maybe they're getting a PTR ready for the next X-Pack. I don't know the details. I read it, and I still couldn't figure it out. But the gist of what they were saying is there's a possibility, a very strong possibility, Blizzard will make a general announcement at Gamescom, which is probably the middle. Gamescom kicks off in Germany middle of next week. So very soon we might find out more details of the next X-Pack. Now, we're not going to get a lot of features. We're not going to get a lot of stuff with class changes. We're probably just going to get more or less the lore and maybe 1 or 2 major features. This tells me that the sub numbers are very low. Blizzard always prematurely announces a new X-Pack ASAP when the opportunity presents itself, when the sub numbers are low. And this is pretty evident based on, if you look on views on YouTube of WoW videos, or if you look on Twitch viewers there for WoW stuff, the decline is pretty precipitous and pretty rapid, and it kind of looks like a ski slope going down, obviously. More like a freight train on greased rails without brakes going down. Anyway, I don't think you're going to hear new stuff about PvP. I don't think you're going to hear about the changes. You might hear 1 or 2 new features that they're really going to change things. Maybe you will hear something about a new PvP guy. I don't know, but maybe big news about the next X-Pack, and hopefully that'll be really cool. But yeah, just what I need. DK and a Demon Hunter on me. That's just not fair. That's just not fair. Now, one of the design issues with, particularly with Shadow Priest, aside from the Void Tendrils that I mentioned, is the fact that initially in the Legion beta, they had an ability into talents, Dominant Mind, let you control other player targets while you still controlled your class. So it worked pretty much like a poly. Pretty quickly, Blizzard realized this was OP, and they took it away, but they didn't give any utility back. And that lack of utility has been evident since day 1 in Legion. Now, when Shadow Priest entered the game in Legion, out of the gate, at launch, they were in the top 5 of best damage. And damage-wise, they were an ace. They were an F16, man. They were in pretty good shape. They lost a lot of utility, but they were truly a glass cannon. Now, Shadow Priests are just glass. They've been nerfed into the ground. Literally went from top 5 in DPS to bottom 5 in DPS in about a year, which is kind of special, kind of interesting, which is why I say Shadow Priests have been greatly overshadowed. But you could also say that a lot of classes, as far as their design, have been overshadowed in PvP, which is why I'm going to say that that is probably the main issue with PvP. Yes, there's a lot of things wrong with PvP, but the class design is 95%, or maybe 90% is reasonable to say, 90% based on PvE endeavors. Because it's pretty obvious. It's pretty, I mean, Rets will complain that they don't have enough speed boosts. DKs will complain they don't have any kind of mobility. Mages, I don't know if they have anything to complain about. Fire certainly does. I guess mages would complain that they don't have some kind of heal. They're forced to spell steal heals if they can. Rogues, everybody has their song and dance that they're going to complain about. Some of it is very legit, but all of it needs to be heard. And I hope that the next guy, whoever it is that takes over PvP after Holinka left, which was almost 3 months ago, and apparently it's not particularly urgent or important to fill the head of the PvP department. You see, I strongly believe that George Martin, how many R's are in on George R.R. Martin? Anyway, he probably has all those R's because his hero is J.R.R. Tolkien. But anyway, George R.R. Martin should be the head of WoW PvP. Because Martin, every time I sympathize with a particular character in Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin kills that character. And that's been very synonymous with what's gone on in Legion. Every time I start to find a class that I feel that I kind of take like a duck to water, Blizzard finds a way to nerf it into the ground and literally make it barely playable in PvP. And they've been doing it with so many classes throughout Legion, whether it's a Shadow Priest or a Fire Mage or a Boomkin, BM Hunter. I mean, the list goes on. They just, unless the only ones really, I mean, even Demon Hunters for a while there were nerfed pretty hard and were shadow of their former selves and somewhat overshadowed. But if you were Warrior, I don't think you had a lot to complain about. Everybody else, you have every other class, you have something. Yes, I have a thing for Warriors. I'm sorry. I've had a thing for Warriors since MoP, and it's just not going to go away. It's just not going to go away because, hey, Swifty, Bajira will get into the beta, and do you think they're ever going to say, I think Warriors are a little bit overpowered? No. They're not going to say it. And in fairness, nobody's going to say that about their class. They're not going to say, you know, Blizzard, my class is really overpowered. I think I need to be nerfed in the beta. That conversation never, ever occurs. And I mean, who am I kidding? If I was in the beta, of course, I never get in the beta because Blizzard hates me, and I can't figure out why. So what ends up happening, I mean, sure, I would not be like, no, I think Shadow Priests are a bit overpowered, or I think Hunters are a bit overpowered. No, that conversation would not exist either. So, and that's part of the problem. The people aren't truly objective. They're not in for what's good for the game, what is going to promote the game, what is going to attract new players to the game. And that's the perspective I always try to adapt. And I think the best way to adapt that perspective is to have a very, very fair and as close to balanced as possible game experience at the most basic level. Because if people are playing the game for the sheer fun of it at the most basic level, the game will flourish. The game will flourish. It's not very unlike baseball in the sense that the New York Mets, for example, were a terrible team for a few years in the 2000s. I think 2006, they made a run for it. And from 2007 to 2014, 7-year itch of bad baseball. People weren't coming to the new stadium, blah, 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 blah. But it's amazing what winning does in 2015 because people came back. And if you make it fun, people will come back. It's that simple. This is Luxley saying, whatever it is by you, morning, afternoon, or night.